What drives the intense conflict at the Indo-Myanmar border? At the heart of this turmoil are two primary actors: the People Liberation Army, PLA, Meitei group, and the KUKI National Army, KNA. Recently, the conflict has escalated dramatically. In a relentless 72-hour offensive, the KUKI National Army has managed to capture several outposts previously held by the PLA Meitei group. This surge has not only shifted the balance of power, but also highlighted the volatile nature of the Indo-Myanmar border region. This border, a line drawn through a mosaic of communities and rugged terrain, has long been a flashpoint of tension. Here, the geography itself complicates governance and control, with its dense forests and mountainous paths providing cover and strategic advantages to insurgent groups. But it is not just the terrain that fuels the conflict. It is also a battleground of competing nationalisms and historical grievances. To understand this complex situation, we must delve into the history and motivations of the involved parties. The roots of this conflict are deep, woven into the very fabric of regional history. In the shadowed corridors of time, the region now known as Manipur, along with its surrounding areas, has been a tapestry of diverse ethnic groups, each with its own distinct cultural identity and historical narrative. Among these, the Meiteis, Kukis and Nagas stand prominent, their histories often clashing as they navigate the complex web of regional politics. The Meiteis, primarily settled in the valley regions of Manipur, have historically been the political power center, exerting influence over the hill-dwelling Kukis and Nagas. This central position has often led to tensions, particularly as each group sought to assert its identity and autonomy. The Kukis and Nagas, with their villages perched in the rugged highlands, have maintained a fierce sense of independence, which has been challenged throughout history by various external and internal forces. Their resistance is not just a tale of survival, but a fight to preserve their way of life against overwhelming odds. These historical frictions have been exacerbated by broader regional dynamics, particularly the political landscape of Myanmar. Myanmar itself is a mosaic of ethnic groups, including the Chin and the Kachin, who share cultural and familial ties with the ethnic groups in Manipur. The porous border between India and Myanmar has facilitated not just cross-cultural exchanges, but also conflicts and insurgencies, with groups often seeking sanctuary or support across the border. The British colonial period and the subsequent drawing of arbitrary borders did little to ease these tensions. Instead, they added layers of bureaucratic and geopolitical complexities that further muddled the already complex relationships among these communities. Throughout the 20th century, these groups witnessed waves of conflict and reconciliation, each episode leaving behind a residue of distrust and unresolved issues. The attempts to demarcate boundaries, politically and geographically, have often ignored the organic connections among the people, leading to policies that look good on maps but falter in reality. These historical grievances have set the stage for the current turmoil. Why has this border become a tinderbox? The Indo-Myanmar border, a sprawling expanse of diverse terrains, holds a strategic significance that is pivotal to understanding the ongoing conflicts in the region. This border is not merely a geopolitical boundary, but a crucial corridor for the movement of arms and supplies. These flows fuel the tensions and skirmishes between various ethnic and militant groups operating within and across the two nations. The complexity of the border region is exacerbated by the socio-political dynamics of the communities living along it. The indigenous tribes such as the Nagas, Kukis and Chins have familial and cultural ties that span across the border. The proposal to fence this boundary has stirred considerable unrest among these communities, who view the fence as a barrier that could sever their historical and social connections, rather than provide any real security solution. Moreover, the porous nature of the border facilitates not only the movement of people, but also the illicit flow of weaponry. This accessibility makes it easier for groups like the Meitei militants to procure arms from sources in Myanmar, intensifying the conflict dynamics in Manipur. The border is not just a line on a map, but a lifeline for many, complicating the conflict further. No conflict is an island unto itself. External influences play a critical role here. In the dense jungles and rugged terrain of the Indo-Myanmar border, the conflict between the People's Liberation Army Meitei group and the KUKI National Army is not merely a local skirmish. It's a battleground where external support and influences cast long shadows over the fighting. The Meitei groups, for instance, have found an unlikely ally in Myanmar's junta. This alliance provides them with substantial logistical and financial support, reportedly to the tune of around 100 crore Indian rupees. This financial backing is not just a lifeline for the Meitei fighters, it's a strategic play by the junta to maintain influence over insurgent activities within their borders. On the other side, the KUKI National Army has aligned itself with the People's Democratic Front of Myanmar, seeking to consolidate their position by forming strategic partnerships. This alignment is more than a military tactic. It's a statement of shared goals and mutual interests against common adversaries. The flow of arms and ammunition is particularly telling. Approximately 45% of the weaponry used by Meitei insurgents comes through channels linked directly back to these external supporters. This not only enhances the Meitei's operational capabilities, but also complicates the conflict dynamics, embedding the struggle in a broader network of regional power plays. The tentacles of this conflict reach far beyond the immediate region, pulling in resources and alliances that fuel the fire. As the sun rises, the battlefield also wakes up. In the dense forests and rugged terrains of the Indo-Myanmar border, a fierce conflict continues to unfold. Recently, the KUKI National Army has intensified its operations against the People's Liberation Army PLA Meitei group. Several PLA Meitei outposts have been overtaken in a series of bold maneuvers by the KUKI forces. This escalation has led to significant casualties, with reports indicating dozens of Meitei militants have perished. The humanitarian impact of this conflict is profound. Local communities, already strained by historical ethnic tensions, find themselves caught in the crossfire. Homes have been destroyed and families displaced, creating a growing need for aid and support. The international community, while concerned, has been cautious in its response, navigating the complex web of alliances and enmities that define this region. Local responses have varied. Some communities have rallied to support the displaced, providing shelter and basic necessities. Others, fearing reprisals or further violence, have chosen to flee to safer areas. The tension is palpable, with each new attack deepening the divides. Amidst this chaos, there is a continuous influx of arms and ammunition, much of which, as investigations reveal, originates from across the border. This supply chain not only fuels the conflict but also complicates efforts towards peace and reconciliation. Each day brings new challenges and shifts in this volatile conflict. As the region stands on the brink, the future remains uncertain, shadowed by the clouds of ongoing hostilities and the silent hopes of its people for peace. As we've explored today, the conflict at the Indo-Myanmar border is both deep-rooted and dynamically complex. Tracing back through a rich tapestry of historical contexts, the strife involves multiple ethnic groups, each with their own interests and grievances. The People Liberation Army Meitei Group and the KUKI National Army are just two of the actors in a theatre of ongoing tension and sporadic violence. The strategic importance of the Indo-Myanmar border cannot be overstated. It's not just a geographical boundary, but a flashpoint of cultural, economic, and political significance. The recent clearance operations by the KUKI National Army and the involvement of external forces underscore the conflict's complexity and the dire need for a careful, well-informed approach to peace-building. Potential paths forward involve dialogue, understanding, and cooperation among all parties. The international community, too, must play a constructive role, respecting the nuances of the region's dynamics. Understanding is the first step towards resolution.